Stevie didn't know who the villain was in Stranger Things Season 2. This is spoilers. I don't know. I felt like throwing you under the bus right away, Stevie. Sorry.
Felt like the writing and directing was the true villain, but we'll get to that later on.
No, well, let's get to that right now. In our group thread this week, you have been trashing Stranger Things Season 2. I think you liked Season 1, but...
I called Season 1 one of the strongest opening seasons to a series ever.
And then,
so that's how much I enjoyed Season 1.
And so, yeah, you've been talking a lot of trash, and I've just kind of stayed mum, so I'm looking forward to having this discussion with you.
Been trying to save it for the pod.
Yeah, save it for the pod. Stevie,
Save it for the pod!
Where are you recording from tonight?
I am recording from my aunt and uncle's house, house sitting their dog while they are enjoying a fun getaway in Disney World in Elkhart, Indiana.
You were complaining about a scratchy throat, and I just heard a little sniff there.
Dude, it's something. I mean, I love this dog. His name is Rudy. There you go. I mean, that's even a connection to this, but I think I'm somehow allergic to it. I wake up with a scratchy throat every morning, and my eyes are like welling up, and got the sniffles.
Oh God!
And the hat.
And outside of this house, I'm doing just fine. When I'm in this place, it is not my dojo. So,
Jordan,
bear with me.
Where's your dojo tonight?
I'm back at the home dojo back in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Awesome.
No sniffles. I'm cured from getting sick from Josh's 2 kids.
Like, you're not allergic to dogs, and like you were like,
oh yeah,
same symptoms when you were over here for Thanksgiving.
I'm pretty sure your uncle has like a secret cat, because as soon as I stepped in the door, I started sniffling right away.
Something to it, man.
It's weird.
And this is your humble host for tonight, although I'll be passing around to everyone. Josh, and I'm out of Goshen, and not really much going on here at all. So,
nothing important.
Nothing important.
My wife may be having early contractions for a child.
The trilogy.
Birth. Yeah, about to have my 3rd daughter anytime now. So
he literally might have to dash away during the pod.
Yes, Stranger Things indeed. It's very weird, but a little escapism here. Let's journey into the land.
Before we do that,
oh.
Speaking of trilogies, Josh, what is your favorite trilogy of all time?
Ooh.
Oh,
wait,
yeah.
is Stranger Things going to be a trilogy?
It's going to be a quadrilogy.
Yeah, it'll be a quad.
I don't know, Stevie. You really put me on the spot. Like, what's yours?
Lord of the Rings, by far.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I think that's like, when I think of trilogy, I really do just think of Lord of the Rings. So I might
It's
have
like
to give
the quintessential trilogy, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, The Godfather is a trilogy.
No, that's a 2-parter. We don't count the 3rd one.
Anyway,
what about Young Guns?
No,
Ooh.
Stranger Things. It opens with Chapter 1, Mad Max. Stevie, would you like to get us into that episode a little bit?
Obviously, there's the boys. Micah's obviously missing 11. It's not as much as a mystery as the disappearance of Will Byers in Season 1, but it's a farmer who's bugging Hopper, saying, so-and-so poisoned my land, look at my rotting pumpkins. Hopper's like, whatever, this isn't much to really talk about. What is it? The boys head up to a arcade. Then they realize, so who has the high score? Is it Dustin? On that video game in the arcade?
Yeah, I think so.
And it's been broken by a so-called Mad Max, which is where we get our episode title from.
Yeah, and I thought some of the coolest shots of the whole season were maybe in this episode, outside of the arcade when it's kind of flickering back and forth between real life and the Upside Down. And Stevie, you criticized the hive mind leader as we named it before the episode. But I thought early on, at least, it was really cool and creepy and like vague enough to keep it interesting.
It also kicked off where season 1 like left off, which is Will jumping back in between the Upside Down and the real world.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was nice to see at least.
This is the first time we see the girl with the 8 tattooed on her wrist, right? Like at the very beginning.
That's how it opens.
Yeah, it's a cold open. So that's about all I have for chapter 1. Jordan, do you want to take us into chapter 2?
Yeah, so chapter 2 is called Trick or Treat Freak. And I think this kind of opens with 11 going back through, I guess it's a flashback, and she's going back through what happened after she beat the Demogorgon from the first season. And it kind of goes through her story of like...
Jordan.
The Demo. Damn it. And she goes back to, is it Mike's house? And then she has to like hide in the woods, and it shows her getting found by, what's his face? Hopper. And then... later on, the story follows Nancy a little bit, and she gets drunk and breaks up with Steve, and
poor dreamy Steve Harrington.
Stevie Harrington. His hair is almost as epic as our own Stevie Harrington's, but
we have very similar hair.
They really
feathered
do.
And lethal. And then it kind of ends with the little guys going trick-or-treating, and Will kind of goes back into a upside down flashback, and the guys are kind of freaked out about that.
Yeah, he's carrying around Radio Shack's own Bob Newby's, what is it? He has a camcorder, doesn't he, when he's trick-or-treating?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he gets a shot of the stars, which shows that creepy outline of that giant monster. But does anybody else hate Mike's dad? If there's any character in Stranger Things I can't stand, it's Mike's dad.
Well, he gets kind of cheated on in the end, right? I mean, spoilers, but this is spoilers.
Well, not just there, but
happened.
like he is like the squarest, like most Reagan voting POS. Like, especially like when the FBI is interviewing him, he's like, "You can ask any of us. We're all patriots here." Like, I hate Mike's dad so much.
He's so boring too. I'm glad.
No, he's just so bland and like just agrees with everything the mom says, and like I don't think he's supposed to be much of a character at all. I think he's just background.
He's a simple kind of man. Let's put it that way. But I think this is also the episode, like, we're introduced a little bit to Max's sister, or Max's brother, Billy. He does have long flowing hair though, but anyway, he's kind of the new sexy dude in town. And
he dethroned Steve Harrington real quick.
Yeah, he's a new bad boy.
They both suck at basketball. That basketball scene is redonkulous. I don't know if that's in this episode or not, but whew, it's rough.
What didn't you like about it? Okay, so we're experienced ballers, all three of us. I mean, we're from the Hoosier State. What, as this movie or this TV show is supposed to be from Indiana, so
no one can dribble. No one can dribble.
They're just doing the classic, like, as you're dribbling right in front of me, we're just going to, like, shit talk to each other with you, like, dribbling the ball right in my face. Then I'm going to swipe it from you at the exact time we're done talking, like, body up on you perfectly. It was just rough. I was laughing a lot because of how silly it was, not at, like, the dethroning of Stevie Harrington.
Plus, I was so confused with the relationship because I didn't know Billy Hargrove. I didn't know if like he wanted to fight Steve or bang him. It was really weird. He was giving some strange looks in the shower.
But that's the same kind of, I mean, not as in a perverse way, but that's the same thing with his younger sister Max too. Like, you can't tell if he wants to punch her in the face.
Not his sister, man.
No. Like, you don't know if he's going to punch her in the face, just like haul off and whack her, or if he's going to like actually stand up for her and be like a good brother. I thought his duality was kind of cool, and then the way they explained it in a later episode with his dad being like a complete jerk, right?
Yeah, I felt like his dad was going to beat him up at any moment. It was actually kind of terrifying.
Slapped him around a little bit.
Turns out Billy's kind of a pussy.
And a racist. He really hates Lucas
and
around
super
Max.
racist. Yeah, good point.
Super racist.
No, I read an
sympathy for the
interview with him.
Like even more than Indiana standards.
No, well, first of all, his character's from California, and I thought he was racist for sure, but the actor who played him said that he didn't think racism was his character's motivation. And I was like, what are you talking about?
What else would it have been?
I don't know.
Was he sent by the Hawkins Department of Energy? I mean, good lord, what else could there be?
His name is Dacker Montgomery. He's an Australian actor, so props for... I had no idea.
When I saw that name at first, I thought he was from the far hills of Alabama. What kind of name is Dacker?
Dacker. How do you say that, Jordan?
Dacker?
It probably is Daker. I don't know.
Well, let's get back to the episodes.
Yeah.
Chapter 3 is called The Pollywog, and Dustin finds a little pet in a trash can, and they kind of form a bond. And that bond is played up throughout the rest of the series, but this is the first place where you see it. And Dart, at this point, is a cute little... How would you describe this dude, Jordan?
Like a slug?
A little pollywog.
And then he continues to morph and like shed his skin, and he has he turns into more like a lizard or a frog with legs, and
he eats the goddamn cat.
He messes up that cat.
Like messes up is like a really soft term. He disembowels it.
And he eventually turns into one of these what Dustin calls demodogs, and are those even the final form, or do they turn into Demojordans later?
I think they might be a lower breed than the Demogorgons.
I read somewhere that they were supposed to be adolescent forms of the Demogorgons.
Oh, okay, so they eventually stand?
I think so, but I don't know.
Gotcha.
I don't remember where I read that.
See, that's kind of what I assumed, but I was surprised they didn't show at least one reach the final form. I don't know. What did you guys think of kind of the mythology they're building about the upside down world and the creatures coming out of it? I think here they did a pretty good job.
It was pretty cool to see I guess you could say like Jordan's like an adolescent Demogorgon, like the Demodogs.
And the baby.
Only thing I was disappointed by was there were so many of them. Like in the first season, there was just one Demogorgon, and it made it cool because there was like an actual fear about this one thing doing so much damage.
Yeah.
I feel like it kind of took away from the fear when there's so many.
Yeah, there's just infinite Demodogs.
Yeah, there's so many of them that it's like
you can't keep score or figure out if you're winning or losing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I felt like why put so many in there when it was so effective just to have one in the first season?
Well, I also don't get Dustin's little guy is messing stuff up so bad. If there were 8 or 10 of these things loose around the town, all in the same place, there would be it'd be chaos. What? They just all come out of nowhere. Where did you guys all come from? And where's your path of destruction behind you?
Where did you come from? Where did you go?
It just made more sense to have one. And I thought it'd been cooler if this was just the only one, and eventually it would turn into one of those Demodogs, and then you kind of had to deal with that, but it never really got to that point.
I could see maybe 2 or 3, but the 10 that they eventually show is too much.
10?
Yeah.
They show way more than 10. There's a whole herd running by them in the tunnels.
That's true.
I would say 80. Or
80?
It's probably not. Yeah, I mean they Lion King stampeded through there.
Shit,
Mufasa was getting killed in there at some point. There was a lot of them.
Here's another thing that Josh Van Elk, friend of the pod, pointed out to me is if they're a hive mind and an individual in the hive mind there's no way it could form a bond independent of the rest of the hive with Dustin. And so there's a scene towards the end of the series where
boo.
Yeah, there's one Demodog in the way, and of course it's Dart, and you've just been waiting for it the whole time. And he feeds him the old snack that he used to feed him, which was, I don't really remember some sort of
Three
granola.
Musketeers.
Three Musketeers bar.
Yeah.
And he's like, good boy, and he lets him through. And supposedly Dart doesn't alert the rest of the hive mind, and he's also able to have...
Like, yeah, if they're a hive mind, like that demo dog just would have killed Dustin right there.
Or the whole hive would have like a bond with Dustin.
So
you know what I mean?
That could be.
I get what you're
that
saying,
would have
but
been cool, right?
I think that the demo dogs and the fully grown Demo Jordan in the first season, I think that they're almost like separate creatures from this thing. Like they all come from the same place, but they're all like the spider thing, whatever that guy, the huge thing. Like I don't think it controls absolutely everything. I think it is instructing them, but I don't think they're part of the. You know what I mean? Like I don't know that they're part of the hive mind.
Well,
But,
the ending,
yeah.
the way they destroy them is by killing the hive mind, and they all just like fall to their dooms, so lifelessly. So I took from that you killed the head and they all died, so they were part of the hive mind. Stevie,
Yeah,
what do you think?
that is a good point.
I will say this. Those are probably like the best stills of the whole season was when Hop and 11 were down there, like going after the hive mind. Like if you like took those individual stills, like those might be like, so all the 2 seasons, those would be the best ones. But
I had a thought on that actually. I thought that when they were just like tight on 11, like using her powers intensely, I almost felt kind of awkward. But the wide shots where you could see the creature like poking through, those were awesome.
yeah, those were amazing. They're some of the best shots of the first 2 seasons. I mean, the hive mind could end up being something bigger. I just hated that scene with Dart at the end where Dustin's talking to a dart, and it's full-grown demo dog at this point. He just kind of.
And the last time they saw each other, he whacked him with a bat. Which that was a pretty great scene too. Did that remind you guys of The Sandlot at all? Jordan, you know what I'm talking about?
Does he hit the dog with a bat?
Like the Beast?
Yeah, like he puts all like that baseball like padding on, goes out in the shed and is like looking out like he set a trap.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. It gave me some Sandlot nostalgia, but anyway.
As far as story arcs go,
yeah.
How do you guys like the whole love triangle that's turning into Jack, Nancy, and Dreamy Steve Harrington?
There's no way that John would ever have a chance. Stevie's too dreamy.
He's so dreamy.
It is interesting. I think she's with Steve now, or I think she's done with Steve now, and Steve will end up just finding someone else next season.
I'm sorry I said Jack. I meant Jonathan. My bad.
It's all right, no problem. But I'm glad you mentioned that because one of the most memorable scenes for me from this whole season was when that weird dude in his bunker is like pointing out to them that they're in love with each other. It's Stevie, I know you said before that you didn't like the tonal shifts of this movie. This is definitely a tonal shift. Did you hate this part?
Yes. To put it lightly.
Elaborate.
It was a shoehorn like comedic relief. Just like, oh, let's put a conspiracy theorist in here. Like, okay, whatever. And he also has a goddamn bunker in Indiana in the 80s. Even cooler.
This is where there's a little bit of a throwback plot line, kind of Reddit nerd sort of thing, because there's this big internet backlash about like the storyline not caring about Barb, who actually died
Barb,
in the
man.
Upside Down. And so
yeah.
like, there's really like tongue-in-cheek lines in this season, like, "Oh man, no one cares about Barb." Wink, wink. You guys notice that?
Yes,
Yeah, for sure.
And what drove me off, like up the wall about these bunker scenes was like, if you're gonna put Jonathan and Nancy together, just make it organic. Make it a point where they kind of on their own come to realize that, hey, I'm actually have something cool here. Instead of comedic relief jackass saying, hey, you two should fuck later. Like, it just, I don't know, I didn't jive well with me at all.
I totally agree with everything you're saying, Stevie. I will say though, like in the moment, first time watching it, I was very entertained and attuned to my television set. Looking back on it, it's cheesy, but...
And if you want to have 4 seasons, draw this love triangle all the way out. Like, it makes for better writing, builds for better suspense, it makes for better discussion of which way is she leaning. Like, just draw it out.
Dude, Stevie, I agree with what you're saying about, like, for the storytelling purposes, but I think that later on in the season, we also see Steve, like, make some pretty huge turns, and I think he's developed into a more three-dimensional character rather than like the
I thought he was the best character of the whole series.
Yeah, same
of
for
the
sure.
whole season.
Yeah, I agree. Like he totally like turned it around. He's being like more of a mentor to the younger guys and stuff. I think it's pretty cool. And he's dreamy.
So dreamy.
I thought it was maybe a little too far when he was like giving Dustin a ride to the dance at the end. I mean, is he really going to spend his Friday night taking this like junior high kid to a dance? That didn't seem realistic to me, but like, whatever. That's really nitpicking as far as unrealistic.
What else is going on in Hawkins, man?
No basketball game?
No basketball. Just so we can jump around a little even more, can we talk about episode 7?
Yeah, let me just hit the beats really quick here. So episode 3 was the last one we talked about, which was where they met Dart. So then chapter 4 is Will the Wise, and quickly we just see Will like possessed by the big giant spider hive mind leader. Chapter 5 is Dig Dug, and I believe this is the one where Eleven like takes off from Hopper's house and like tries to find her mom. Chapter 6 is The Spy, and Chapter 7 is the one that you wanted to talk about. And before you do, let's just point out, this chapter had by far the lowest IMDb rating with like a 6.2. Everything else was in the high 8s or 9s, but this...
It's bad.
Yeah, it is.
What did you hate about it?
Everything. Like,
give me the pain, man. Did this ruin this series and season for you?
No, but they could have taken this whole episode out and the season would have still made sense. Like, it just seems so stupid that, like, they tried to build this conflict between Eleven, her long lost sister, of who's good, who's evil. The acting of everyone is terrible.
So bad.
It's so bad. It just blew my mind that this was even an episode.
The acting was over the top, and it was like they're creating their own little like X-Men steampunk group.
Lord of the Flies with like poser anarchy in the UK, like British punks. It just made me so annoyed.
I really like the idea of like 11 tracking down the other 10 people or whatever who have like experienced what she's experienced, but this is a terrible execution of that like concept, and the episode is pretty fucking awful.
I shouldn't say hate. I did not appreciate like the whole gang, really. I thought that was pretty ridiculous, but I did enjoy the actress that played 008 or whatever her name is.
No, you did?
I thought she was okay.
I thought they had a couple cool conversations, like when she made the butterfly in her head, and
that was cool.
I liked that she turned out to be like kind of hardcore evil-ish too, that she didn't like soften in the end. Like, she wants to kill people. She's like a murderer. Right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I saw someone online say like it seemed like they didn't really know what to have 11 do this season, so that's what they filled it with.
Or any of the characters.
Jordan, what do you think about this episode 7, this much reviled episode?
No, I mean, like I said, I think it's a good concept, but it's just terribly executed. She hitchhikes to Chicago to find 8, and
her long lost sister.
I kind of agree with Josh. I think that the actress has, and like the character has some good points to her, but yeah, the rest of the gang is just stupid. Like the one guy that like initially looks like he's gonna stab 11 is like way over the top. The rest of them are, I don't know, they're just kind of tagging along for the ride with 8. And
they fit like all the demographics.
Oh, yeah.
There's like the tall, lanky white dude with the mohawk. There's a big bruiser black dude. There's like the charming, cutesy girl that watches out the window. I don't know. It's pretty archetypal and like, again, I said this earlier about another scene, like looking back on it, super cheesy. I think the first time you watch it though, I gave it the benefit of the doubt and I was like pretty entertained, but
I feel like every episode
is pretty low. 6.2 is low, man.
Dude, it's a bad app.
I feel like every episode up to this point, I was like pretty compelled to like just keep watching, and this one I was like, whoa, like what are they doing here? Like this might have kind of lost me a little bit.
Like the episode is called The Lost Sister. That like describes this episode in itself with
the lost
with the
audience.
This is the lost like this is how you lose an audience.
Do you guys think that they should have taken that storyline and again, like I thought you said you could drag things out a little bit more. I thought they could have dragged out 11 just fighting Hopper at the cabin longer. Like their relationship is actually cool and entertaining, and more scenes with Hopper the better. Am I right? So like
I think you're right on that. More scenes with Hop the way better.
So like it's cool if you like shoehorn like, you know, 008 in with like a different special power that's interesting, but can she have like a one-off episode without a total scene change and like
I think it would have been more interesting if 8 came to Hawkins looking for her. I think that would have made it a much stronger like story arc of
that would have been
hearing
good.
of a girl doing these crazy things and then her leaving her gang in Chicago and throughout the season just showing her like trying to get to Hawkins.
Yeah, and that would set the stage for 11 in the next season to then go off and find her. You know,
I think that would have been the best part of having 11 trapped throughout the season with Hopper and having 8 kind of trying to, I wouldn't say set her free, but giving her something to look forward to in the end. So I think that would have been the route to go with that story arc.
Yeah, I mean, just Hopper verse 11 was honestly one of the strongest points of the season, and I felt like she was running away by episode like 3 or 4 out of 9, and it's like,
yeah.
Oh, let's keep things moving here though. Chapter 7, the much hated 6.2 IMDb episode where they spend it in Chicago, and then we move to 8, which is called the Mind Flayer. It says the season basically escalates in ranking per episode, and like with the exception of Chapter 7 being a huge dip, but 8 and 9 are the top 2 rated episodes, and you guys watched this whole season in one day, which I was blown away to hear. I spread it out over like 2 or 3 weeks, and like,
wow,
I was like really anticipating these episodes and thought they were awesome. Like, I could imagine that being a little bit different when you're just kind of worn out on your 9th episode of the day.
I mean, that's what I do with these Netflix shows. I did it with like the first season of Stranger Things, watched it all in one day. Did it with Glow. I did it with Narcos.
Well, like, Stevie, you know why? You know, I had to split Stranger Things up because we covered The Grey.
Oh yeah.
And after watching that movie, I had to take like a couple days off of like depressing stuff. I watched Friends.
Movie in the end.
I watched Friends on Netflix. It was embarrassing.
It's an uplifting movie in the end.
No, it's not. Sorry for interrupting, Stevie.
No problem. But yeah, I would say the 2 strongest episodes of the season. I think you're right on that. Especially with Will Byers' exorcism in the end, which was awesome. And the rescue of Hopper was cool, too.
The culmination of 8 and 9 are basically like a season finale over the course of 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And you finally see like the whole team in action. And we haven't gotten into the child actors really yet, this pod, but who of the 4 stands out to you guys? And like, what do you guys think about these kids' future careers as actors?
The kid who plays Mike already has a pretty strong career because he was an It.
Yeah.
Can we throw Steve Harrington in there, or is he too old?
I was talking about the initial 4, but I don't mind who you go with.
I think overall, Dustin will probably have the strongest career. The kid with cranial dysplasia.
What?
But I think they're good actors. So I think all of them have a chance of having a really good career.
I think that the kid that plays Will is a little bland, kind of like Mike's dad. I don't know. I don't necessarily see him.
All Patriots here, sir.
I don't necessarily see him going places. I think I don't know, like in both seasons he's been used a lot less. He's more of like a prop than anything, I guess.
What percentage of his scenes this season were just like him writhing and screaming like a squealing pig? It was ridiculous.
It's a lot. I mean, and the last one, he's like just tied up in the upside down for like at least half the season.
I agree. I wonder if they're gonna have to make him in distress or in a coma every season to hide his acting or something.
Okay, though, but these probably were the 2 strongest episodes. What do you guys think of the 40-yard dash and death of Bob Newby?
Bob Rudy.
Bob Rudy Newby.
Bob was a cool character because
he was an awesome character.
I think you expect him to like be a sleazebag at every corner, and he's not, and he's just such a good guy. It made his death all the more impactful, and like I don't know, he died sacrificing himself, but Christ's character. What, Jordan?
He does end up nice one. He does end up being really cool and like a really good guy, but was there like some kind of insinuation in the beginning, like you weren't sure if he was going to be good or bad, or like what his
I thought he was going to be bad.
Were? Yeah, I thought he was somebody from like the lab that was like trying to infiltrate the family. I thought he was going to be working
for Hawkins, double agent.
I don't know if you guys watched the episodes on Netflix after that was like Beyond Stranger Things, but they had said, like the Duffer Brothers said that like we did not intend for that at all, and that's definitely something that audiences have, like test audiences told them, like, is he supposed to be bad? Like, what's his deal? And they're like, no, he's just a good dude, just trying to date their mom and stuff. And so
Radio Shack's own,
but
yeah,
I think
guy
that's
in the world.
It's a good mix because you expect him to be bad, you kind of like you feel more sorry for him because you realize that's probably what all the kids are thinking too. And so I think he's a very sympathetic character, and we've talked about Sean Astin before. He has like few roles, but he seems to nail them.
He was really good in this, and I liked that that conversation with Will in the car about like standing up to your fears. And in the end, it worked very poorly for Will. But I still like that conversation. In the end, he ended up getting like taken over, but I still thought it was an awesome conversation.
One part that I did like from Will as an actor was when he got up and like told them all like, oh, you have to do this and this because like I can tell that the hive mind doesn't want you to go to this place. And he's like totally pulling that trick on him because he's like part of the hive. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? When he like sets up that like SWAT team to die, I thought that was like his coolest part. Yeah, that's probably his coolest part of the series.
Definitely.
It's a trap!
And then one other quick note on the young guys is that Finn Wolfhard, who plays Mike, you said he was in It, Stevie. I haven't seen that.
He was.
We've reviewed it, though, on spoilers. Sweet.
Really good movie.
He's pretty good in that.
But does he not look like he will go straight from Stranger Things to successful modern rock indie band? Like, directly?
Like, directly?
There's some producer out there
gonna pull a reverse Jared Leto. He's gonna pull a reverse Jared Leto.
There's a producer out there with like 50 tracks just ready for him once he's done with season 4 of this.
God.
I don't see it, Josh.
Okay, and then the last one is Caleb McLaughlin. He's Lucas. He's our Winston, our favorite black dude, and I thought he was actually pretty awesome in this. And
he's a good actor.
Yeah, he is. And him and Max,
he's a really good actor,
have like a budding relationship, and it culminates with like a little kiss at the dance. But like,
yeah.
I legitimately thought, out of all of the upside down creatures and jump scares, like the creepiest thing to me was thinking that like Max's brother Billy was going to do something like really violent to Lucas. That was like my biggest fear this entire season. Did you guys catch that at all?
He reminds me of like a racist Stephen King bully out of one of his novels. Like that's what like that dude reminds me of. Yeah, I honestly thought he was like, I mean, I can't get too weird with this, but I thought he, like what you said, Josh, can do something pretty distasteful to Lucas.
I agree. It was like a very uncomfortable, like pit of my stomach thing where I was like, I really hope he doesn't catch up to him. And like that one time he almost runs over like the whole group with his car. That was a close call. But yeah, I thought if he tracked down Lucas at some point, that was going to be very uncomfortable and terrifying.
Yeah, that's exactly what I felt like too. And honestly, like, I guess it's a testament to that kid Caleb's acting, because I cared about him a lot more than I cared about Will. Or maybe I just have Will. I just have Will fatigue, man. That's like 2 seasons.
Will's a thrill, baby.
2 seasons of a coma. Come on, bro.
That kid put up with like 150-degree heat though, with his mom screaming at him. I mean, that kid has some resiliency.
Do you want to hit on Winona Ryder really quick then? If I could,
really strong season.
If I could chuck freebie segue this into Winona Ryder. I posted this on Instagram too. Like, I thought I don't hate her, and I feel like she fits the role, but she overacts a bit.
My boy! My son! Will!
I don't think so.
No?
No.
What about those memes on the internet that are like, my boy?
I mean, I guess I look at it. I mean, I look at it in a sense from her character point of view. I mean, she's literally been to hell and back for her son. And to see her son kind of slipping away again would probably drive any person crazy. So I think it fits the character just fine.
Maybe it's just her wide eyes that drive me nuts, Jordan.
Mikey has a huge crush on Winona Ryder.
Dude, really? Pretty sexy.
Yeah, when we were kind of talking about it that first weekend, he kept saying how hot she is. Winona is hot and a little crazy. I like that. She's a convicted thief, crazy / hot.
Dude, she's 46 years old, doing solid for 46.
That's a fair point.
I think that'd be a good match for money. I mean, if spoilers makes it big, might
have Winona on.
I'd be proud of him.
We can have him make that call. Anyway,
so chapter 9,
the second half of the season finale of chapter 8 and 9. It's called The Gate, and we were talking about these scenes earlier. It culminates with, Eleven's come back from her Chicago vagrant experiences, and she has to personally, because she has like her telekinesis power, like she has to shut the gate physically. And it's a pretty cool scene, pretty great ending. What were some of the other storylines that were kind of interweaved here, you guys?
You kind of touched on it earlier, but Billy seducing Mike's mom, almost, kind of, maybe.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the scene starts off, and Mike's mom is like taking a bath, and she's reading this book, and on the cover is like a blonde, big-haired woman just like herself, being seduced by a big-haired man. and someone knocks on the
80s
door.
80s erotica.
Yeah, it's 80s erotica, and someone knocks on the door, and of course Mike's dad is asleep, and so she goes to answer the door in her robe, and Billy is there and like, ooh, and just starts. He's hitting on her so hard, and they like go into the kitchen. I thought something weird was going to happen. I thought like she was going to jump his bones.
Setting up for season 3, man.
God, man, Mike's about to have a little brother.
This scene was actually a huge payoff for me, because that Billy character was so intense every time you saw him. And like this was like kind of a comedic moment in the middle of, chapter 9, where like all the shit is going down. I really enjoyed this scene. It was funny.
I thought it was super weird at first, but like the longer it went on, I just started laughing a lot. It was pretty good comic relief.
She was like looking at his butt as he was walking out.
So weird.
I actually posted a picture of this dude on our Instagram about a half an hour before we started up here, and I opened it up for our Instagram audience. Does anyone have a question? And user Ian_AS asked, why wasn't there more biking in season 2?
I felt like this season really lacked 11 moments, which was a huge draw in the first season. Like, when they're biking away to get away from like the Hawkins Department of Energy, and 11 flips that van over them. And also with when there's those 2 bullies that deal with Mike and Dustin all season. When Mike gets thrown off the cliff, or he has to jump off, and like 11 like stops him with her telekinesis. I feel like this season was really lacking those really cool moments.
I also missed the biking. I think the only times I can remember them biking around is like twice when Dustin like arrives home, and then the one time when they all arrive at school in the Ghostbusters like backpacks and stuff. Other than that, I can't remember them
rough
biking
day for
very
those
much at all.
boys.
Which were awesome. Those backpacks were pretty sweet.
They were pretty cool, and it was pretty racist how Mike was trying to get Lucas to be Winston.
You think it was racist or naive and super hilarious?
Naive and super hilarious.
And a little racist.
I thought they played that pretty well, and it's like the obvious joke to go there too. So I'm glad they went for that. That takes us all the way up through all of the chapters, you guys. Final comments and yes or no's? Are you guys ready?
Sure.
Yeah.
Jordan, why don't you start us off?
Okay. So it's going to be a yes for me. I would say like a 7 out of 10 hardness rating on the Viggo Mortensen scale.
Thank you.
It's a good follow-up. I think season 1 is a lot better. Like I said, I did watch this in like a span of like a day and a half pretty much, and so by the end I was a little fatigued. I wish I would have stretched it out a little bit more. I can see myself going back to watch season 1, and I'm not sure that I'll ever crank out all of season 2 again. And not to say that it's bad, but season 1 is so epic and classic that it's going to be tough to follow it up in any case. It was good, not great, but definitely a should watch for anybody out there that hasn't seen it yet.
Stevie.
I will give this well, it's funny you say that. I will give this a yes as well. I honestly think the star of this season was Steve Harrington. I think
you would say that
his character had such a fun arc, and especially when he was teaming up with Dustin, a lot of the way through. And I agree with everything Jordan said. I don't see myself ever, like, unless like there's like a out of nowhere callback in season 3 where I need to come back to see how it connects to season 2. I don't really ever see myself coming back to this. I think this is a case of writers, who are also the directors, not really knowing what to do with the story and made an elongated filler season. I mean, nothing concrete was done with this season at all, so it made it really frustrating.
Well, Stevie, you say that, but you also asked earlier that they would actually stretch out a few of the plot lines even more.
Well, I said into season 3, they still could have done, like, subplots, sure, but they still could have done something with the main plot. I mean, at least in the first season, there was bad guys, there was good guys, there was, bad guys defeating evil, which is, this season was just kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, don't really know what to do with it, so we'll kind of just fill time. So that's where my frustration came into it, but I'll give it a yes.
Thanks, Jordan. Jordan and Stevie. I'm glad you guys gave that yeses. I really think this season deserves it. To be honest, I'm a huge season 2 skeptic of like any show I watch. So I went into this like super cynical and didn't expect much, and I loved it. Like I hate season 2 so much I haven't even watched True Detective season 2 yet.
Don't bother, it sucks ass.
That's what
Dude,
I keep
it's
hearing,
so
and like
bad.
I love season 1 so
Everybody
much.
whispers. Everybody fucking whispers.
Hot take, but yeah, like I don't want to ruin season 1 for me, and I thought I was going to do the same thing with Stranger Things, but like no, this television show is awesome. A lot of it is about mood, and there's a lot of 80s music, and there's a lot of this mixture of like being a kids show but also for adults, so like you almost feel like you're watching it as your inner child. Like
It's the Wes Anderson method. It's children doing adult things. So it's always fun to watch that.
Yeah, and just kind of the sci-fi aspect of it too. Like I really like a lot of things about this show. I'm so glad that they have signed on for 4 seasons. Paul Reiser is in this too, and we haven't mentioned him yet. He plays kind of like the laboratory director who he helps Eleven out at the end and gets her like her own birth certificate, so she's Hopper's adopted daughter now. But I thought he was going to be just like in Aliens, where he turns out to be a skis bag the whole time, because
The slimiest of slimy people.
because he plays the slimy guy so well. I love him as a slimy guy.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I love Stranger Things season 2. It's weird though, because now that season 2 was good to me, like I'm even more built up for season 3, and I do not envy the Duffer Brothers and their job as far as like the criticism they have to come up against. Like, could you even imagine?
Dude, it's got to be so tough. I can't. I had heard after the first season that it was going to be more of like an anthology, like that this group of people wasn't even going to be in the next, like in Stranger Things season 2. And I was almost like relieved at the time, because like I didn't see how they could follow it up. And I think they did a really good job, but like, do you guys think it would have been better to almost do like anthology style and then maybe come back to Hawkins like in a few years or something like that?
No,
like,
because we had a glimpse
I
into
would have
that.
liked that.
Well, we had a glimpse into that with episode 7, right, Stevie? Like that would have been where a season 2 would have taken place in Chicago with that character.
Stevie said that it was like shoehorned in, but if it would have been like a whole season of getting to know like this other like 8 story or 6 or whoever is out there,
We're gonna spend 9 episodes in that warehouse, Jordan.
No, just her journey to finding
if
11.
if they have a whole season, then it's different. Yeah, I think it could have been. I don't know.
I see what you mean.
I think to go back and like address these people again it was done pretty well, about as well as you could expect. And I think that
I agree with that.
people fell in love with these characters the first time around, and it would have been suicide to like just desert them.
Also, I love the fact that it's in Indiana, just like us.
Oh yeah.
It's in northern Indiana, somewhere within driving distance of Chicago too. So like, it's pretty much zeroed into all of our home base locations, I would say, right? Like, where do you think Hawkins is? Like Gary?
It's probably somewhere lame in the region.
The region?
Oh man,
The
because she did
region.
get Chicago pretty easily, didn't she?
Yeah.
Real quick before we end this episode, I have to bring up my favorite scene of the whole season, or at least the funniest. And that is after, we talked about Billy getting violent, possibly with Lucas. He actually gets violent with Steve late, and he pulls this move on him where he's just like punching him in the face, and it's a movie cliche where like a dude goes nuts and just like punches a guy to death. Like, I thought Steve was about to die.
No one tells me what to do.
Same.
But then they follow that up with this hilarious scene where he's like coming to in a car, and he sees all the characters one by one culminating him and seeing like
Who's driving?
a 13-year-old girl who he's never met zooming.
No, don't touch it. Don't touch it. Hey, buddy. Shh. It's okay. You put up a good fight. You kicked your ass, but you put up a good fight, buddy. Okay, you're okay. What's going on? Oh my God, Steve. Relax. She's driven before.
Yeah, the parking lot counts.
Oh my God. We're gonna leave you behind. No, but I promised that you'd be cool. Okay.
Whoa, what's going on? Stop the car! Slow down!
I told you he'd freak out.
Stop the car!
Sonny, shut up! I'm trying to focus. Hurry, let's go, Sonny. Make a left. What? Big turn left.
That was pretty funny.
That was good.
I think you're right though, Stevie. Steve Harrington, like if you look up Stranger Things memes right now, it's going to be all Steve Harrington. Like I think him and Mike definitely have a career in front of them.
If they made season 3 about Steve Harrington and Dustin Adventures, I would be okay with it. Like those two's chemistry is awesome.
If I'm buying stock in anyone, it's definitely Steve Harrington stock.
Yeah, skyrocketing. It's Bitcoin high right now.
You guys take that. I'll take my Mike as a like future Julian Casablancas, lead singer of the Strokes sort of guy.
Dude, that is a weird call, man. That's going on pennies on the
Mars
dollar.
Volta, man.
No
He's
one
more of a
wants
Mars
it.
Volta type guy.
It's fine though. There's big gains to be had there. So I guess that's it. Any plugs you guys wanted to get in before we threw it to Spoiler Man?
Probably trivia episode coming out at some point in the next few months, depending on how long it takes to edit.
Quite some time.
Could take a while.
It's pretty long.
Can I just get this out there publicly? Like, at the trivia event, I feel like I was pretty hard on you, Jordan, when I picked a particular category, and it was very difficult. I would just like to apologize and say, like, thank you for making the trivia work for us.
Yeah, as much as I hate Rotten Tomatoes, you did a really good job with that, so congrats to you.
I mean, it's fun, and it's fun to have everybody in the same room and duke it out trivia style.
Oh, we were duking for sure, but yeah, check out our trivia episode when it comes out. You can go back to episode 100 and watch Blackout Passion. Like, we have a lot of episodes.
Episode 50 was our first trivia extravaganza, I believe.
Yeah, and you can hear me in the background saying, ding!
First Spoilers appearance, I think.
It was. Wow, nostalgia. But I think that's it for Stranger Things. That was Spoilers.
Boss Baby.
Boss Baby's really a 2017 phenomenon for you, Jordan.
Please don't forget to leave us a review by searching for Movie Spoilers, clicking on the cereal bowl, select the Reviews tab, and leave us some stars and some words. Twitter is @spoilers_pod. Our Instagram is Podcast Spoilers. It's lit. Josh Hensley from the Rutabaga wrote our theme.
Additional music from Workturn and Akira.
That was Spoilers.
Like, when me and Lauren have a child, I'm like going to be texting and calling you every day. Just what the fuck do I do?
When am I allowed to go get cigarettes? Shoot, Jesus Christ. That was worse than a Zach Neese call.